meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we'll just want to remind everybody that we are live streaming the board meeting tonight. We do have a board member joining, but we are live streaming, so everything is being recorded. So we welcome those individuals who are joining us via the web or recorded later on. So we'll start by taking a motion to approve consent agenda items. Motion by Earl. Do I have a second? A second by Tony. Any discussion? All of those in favor, and Susan, will you please do the roll call since Pat is online, please?
Tony?
Yes.
Travis?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Earl?
Yes.
Susan, yes.
Amy, yes.
No, sorry.
It's okay. So now we move on to community non-agenda items. I don't believe that anyone signed in to speak on an item that is not on the agenda, but just kind of open that up to make sure that there is no one here to speak. Okay, and then we'll move on to our Stronger Together recognition. Teresa?
Right, so it's my pleasure to recognize tonight and bring to the board our Black Cat racing team. They won first place out of 20, right, 20 teams? Say that again? 22. First place out of 22 teams at Purdue, and just really represented Jennings County, made us all really proud, and appreciate the time, the effort. We know that that didn't just happen. You guys did a lot of work to make that happen. So we wanted to recognize you tonight with our Stronger Together Award. So you would come forward when I call your name, and it looks like there's a few of you who have t-shirts on order. So I'll let you know when we get to you. Andrew Arnold. Not here. Okay. Matthew Arnold. I need to mute his microphone. Camden Bosback. Pat, can you mute your device? Hear me?
You should be able to.
Aiden Benson. I'm going to go around. If you'd like to shake your hands.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Wyatt Gross. Congratulations.
Hold on, Congratulations. Hey, Pat, could you please mute your line?
Gotta go all the way, buddy.
Congratulations.
Good.
Chloe Day. Xander Gibson. Michael Goff.
Congratulations.
Davy Shaw.
Congratulations.
Great job. Lane Kelly.
I texted him. I did. That's right.
Nicholas Patterson. Mason Frenchie. Blake Gallion. Coach Braden Day. Jackson Longwell.
All of this.
Another coach, Alan. Is it Becker? Coach Dave Thomas.
Just me and Jackson's on this year, so
Okay.
Dave and Alan and Bob are both out.
Okay. All right. I think Bob was the last one. So we will. Are you taking these? And then there's like 4 of them that we're going to owe shirts to. We'll get them to you. All right. So thank you. Congratulations.
You.
Proud of you guys.
I'm gonna try this one more time. Hey, Pat, if you could please
Yeah.
mute your line. We're getting some feedback. Don't you love technology? That's right. Okay. Well, so for those in the room and those that are listening online, if you don't follow the Black Cat team, it's so fun to watch. They have done a phenomenal job all year, and I just really enjoy watching them. So kudos to them. What a great thing that we have here in Jennings County. So fantastic. So next on the agenda is the Jennings County High School presentation.
Tell me when I'm good, Seth. Okay, I just gotta make sure this gets shared with Pat. You're all good. All right, well, guys, first of all, thank you so much for letting our team from the high school come in. I think you just click stuff and it'll go, but. And present to you guys today about some of the things we've been working on throughout this school year. If you're looking at your packets, that is not the entire presentation. It is not that long. There are elements linked in the presentation that we wanted to make sure were included, so that is why it is so long. So Travis, no worries, we'll be out of here before 10:30 or 11 tonight, I promise. So some of the topics we're going to talk about, our new 1,000-point semester requirement that we put in this year, our SRT Math and English Lab, Pride Days, and then Pride Day incentives that we were able to start adding in at the end of the school year once the COVID restrictions had lessened for us, our alternative education results, dual credit opportunities, STEM foundation that we're building this year, workforce connections and work ethic certificate, some culture and climate of JCHS, and then our goals going into next year. 1,000-point requirement. So last year we were given the opportunity to meet with what at that point was our curriculum and future committee. Its name has changed several times. It is now our steering committee. But we were looking at data over the summer on things that we needed to do. And as we looked through grade books, we started to find like courses. So when we say like courses, like Algebra 1 being taught by teacher A and Algebra 1 being taught by teacher B, and a great disparity in between the total number of points in each course. And as we talked about what equitable would be for a student, trying to get those courses to where we were offering the same amount of points and the same opportunities in each class. out of actually the teachers in the committee, they came up with this idea of a 1,000-point grade book. And setting it at the start, we knew for the semester our class would have 1,000 points. Now, as we brainstormed and worked through that, the interesting part about that is every student walking into class knew exactly how many points they had to earn to get a credit. Because 600 points is 60% of the semester grade. So they knew walking in, it wasn't I don't know how many points we'll have in class this year, maybe 2,000, maybe 700. They knew 1,000, they knew they had to get to that 600 mark. That really helped with the conversations and guidance and admin when parents would call in and want to know about students' grades. Very difficult to have those conversations sometimes when we're based on percentages of categories or we're based on percentages here. This was very cut and dry for parents. They knew. 100 points was 10% of the student's grade. So it really helped with that.
Page 2 in your packet.
Yeah.
Seth, did you
Oh.
did you get it? There you go.
Okay. Okay. So how did we implement it? After this had been decided during the summer, our teacher group, their names are listed there, got together. They put together a presentation that they presented to our staff as we came back to school. And like I said, that whole presentation is included in your packet towards the back of what they talked about and giving kids equitable experiences, being able to collaborate. We put in that we'd have common unit assessments across the board to where we could look at data between teachers and where we were the strongest. Some of the data that I pulled about this, and again, this is not to where we can directly say it is due to the 1,000 points. So that is not my claim here. This will take longer time to look at this as we go through with it. But this is grade distribution during first semester from the 2018-2019 school year all the way up to this last school year. And what you're seeing there in the graph is at the far left is the percentage of A's. So that's every grade that was taken for the semester. So between 7,700 and 8,500 grades are taken because every student is taking around 7 classes. So you can see how the numbers are there, but the big one we want to talk about is the F's. And the one that'll jump out, I'm sure to everybody, is last school year, first semester, as we're coming out of the COVID bubble, 23% of our students, or 23% of the grades were failing grades. I'm really happy to see, again, I'm not claiming this as to the 1,000-point decision, but I'm really happy to see that we have come back more in line with 10.5% this first semester. When we go to the second semester, it's even more exciting to me. And this one you will only see 3 lines when it comes up. Seth, can you try just the arrow?
Yeah.
There we go. So you only see 3 lines because the one is that COVID semester when we shut down and kids were held harmless. But as you can see here, again, last year we were at 15.6% failures at the second semester. This semester that we just finished up was 8.5%. So cutting down that number by almost 1,000 failures this school year. So really exciting. Going forward, and again, something we'll continue to track is the data on that grade distribution, but as we go forward, we reached back out to our teachers to talk about what they thought, and some of the comments from teachers, took a survey of our teachers. It was a mixed bag, and even teachers that taught different classes. One teacher told me that she walked in my office and she said, I think this is the smartest decision we've ever made for freshmen, and I think it's the dumbest decision we've made for my junior and senior level classes. And I said, so where do you stand at? And she said, that's exactly where I stand, is that. And a lot of that was because when we get in those upper level classes, they're so unique, they needed flexibility. And that was great feedback for us. That's something we're implementing and adding. Going into next year, as long as like classes are the same, those teachers can actually talk to us and actually give us a proposal to adjust their number of points. Because some classes felt like 1,000 were way too many points, so they felt like they were gonna end up having to give away points to get to 1,000. Other classes felt like there was so much, they weren't giving ample points to encourage a kid to go do it. So overall, it was felt like that it really helped students be able to know where their grades are, know where they were in the course, know how much they needed to make up, especially towards the end. I had another teacher that came down and talked to me about a young man that was at 570 points right in the last week of school. There was one assignment left. And he said it was so easy to have that conversation with that kid and say, this is a 75-point assignment. You have 573. You have to get 28 points on this assignment to get your credit in this class. And he said the kid worked diligently because he wanted to make sure that he got that credit. Some of the other side of that feedback, though, was some kids got to a grade they wanted and started to tail off because they had hit their peak. So those are all things we're going to work with as our teachers as we go forward and continue to see where this leads us. So this is what I just talked about with the teacher proposal coming back and requesting a higher or lower total. Go ahead, Seth. And then I will turn over to Stephanie about SRT.
Yeah, and so this is another piece that we think plays into the decrease in failures this semester. We implemented an SRT lab, so that's our student resource time. When we went to 4 lunches during our lunch blocks, that allowed a 35-minute time for every student during that time for student resource. So we were able to staff a math and English lab with math and English teachers where students could go on their own. They could be assigned. They could be assigned certain days. They could be assigned, we had points where this student failed first semester. They're now in the lab every single day. This proved to be very successful. We had almost 700 kids in and out during the school year to be served, and this is one thing that we're really working on over the summer with our steering committee and the implementation of all of our MTSS positions and how we continue to strengthen this and make sure that these kids are served right away as well.
And this is something that has been built into the master schedule again, so that we can make sure that we have certified math and English teachers every lunch block available.
And so, this is also another piece that we implemented this year that it's also helping to increase the success of our kids. Are our Pride Days and Pride Day incentives. Our Pride Time basically builds in a checkpoint for kids to make sure that they're completely caught up on assignments. Typically, they ran around a midterm point, so we had some of our staff run missing assignment sheets for every first period teacher. They would go through these sheets with students and just have a point during the year to say, okay, here's our missing assignments. We're going to work through every one of these in every one of our classes, so that spanned over 2 days. We did have several classes that continued with instruction. A lot of our dual credit and AP courses would continue on. So a lot of those students didn't have missing assignments, so they were not missing out on a lot of that instruction. As we continued through the year, this is also an area where we wanted to build in incentives for students who were doing well, because we know that not a huge part of our building, or there's a large majority that aren't missing assignments, so we want to make sure that they have enrichment activities and other things to work towards. So a lot of implementation for PBIS kind of started. We haven't officially rolled that out, but once we were able to lift the COVID restrictions, we could run grades for any students that didn't have missing assignments and
Who didn't have any failing grades.
who didn't have failing grades. So that's what we started. So that they could have time outside. We had movie, we had time in the gym, those types of things that they could look towards for an incentive. So, and we did see, once we released those incentives, we saw we saw progress in students, because I know, Joe, you were tracking those grades and some of that, so.
This is probably the slide that I'm most proud of and most impressed by, but talking about our alternative education, our impact. And I started out when I was doing the slide, I just looked at the total number of credits that we earned in impact this year, and that's 315 credits. Now, to break that down a little bit more, that's 60 students who have come in and out of impact during the year. But really, it's about 35 that were the core group that were in there. Others kind of came in and out. We all know what alternative ed is, but I pulled two students that have just blown me away this year in everything. And I wanted to get their full data profile. So this is student A and student B between last year and this year. Student A missed 57 unexcused days last year. This year he missed 9. 5 of those were in August when he was still building relationships with the teacher in his classroom. So the rest of the school year, 4 days. He earned 1 credit last year. He earned 17 credits this year. Had 11 discipline referrals this year, and we didn't see him in the office at all this year. It's an unbelievable impact in the change that we saw. Student B, 22 unexcused absences to 7. Earned 1 credit last year as well, but only has earned 3 his freshman and sophomore year. He was expelled his freshman year and only earned 2 credits. This year earned 16 credits and is working to continue to get back on track to graduate. Went from 4 discipline referrals to 1. One of the cool things here is actually at the end of the semester, student B came to me and said, hey, we want a challenge to see how many credits we can get. And I said, okay, what do you want? And he said, we want the administration to cook chili for us. And I said, you want us to cook chili for you? Yeah, we want to have a chili cook-off. And I said, all right, if the class earns 20 credits, as soon as you do that, we'll do a chili cook-off. It's pretty cool. Student B was working on a class but watching everyone else to make sure he could be the 20th to pull the paper down to bring it to me and say, you better get to cooking. So we did do a chili cook-off. I was robbed. Joe won the title. It was completely set up. We won't go into that, but what is transitioning in these kids' lives is unbelievable. I mean, these 2 kids, I can promise you that their freshman and sophomore years were headed to dropouts. They were headed to probably being the kids that I would see that I had in class that are on the jail inmate roster. And both of these 2 kids are now making connections with people in the community for workforce jobs, are finding their interest, and truly believe they have a future. So it's those 2, like I said, this may be the slide I'm most proud of because as I truly broke it down individually, it's unbelievable the change we've seen in these 2 young men.
And those are just 2.
I was gonna say, and we could
Just
have gone
2.
on to
Yes.
student C, D, E, you know, all of them. It's amazing.
Go ahead, Seth.
So just to update on dual credit opportunities, I know this is something that we've always been proud of at the high school, that we've been able to offer a lot of dual credit for our students through Ivy Tech, IU, and Vincennes. So right now we're at around 45 college classes, or 45 high school classes that earn dual credit through these universities. Some of those classes earn credit for 2 or 3 college classes, so those are our curriculum classes, around 45 of those. Credit for over 800 college courses was earned by students in this last school year, so 800 courses. 11 seniors completed our Indiana College Core, and this is, ours is actually awarded through Ivy Tech because that's where most of our credits are through, but this is a block of 30 credit hours where students actually earn their certificate through Ivy Tech, so they are technically a sophomore in college at any Indiana State University, Indiana Public University. We're continuing to expand these opportunities. This is one big piece that we're working on with Next Level Programs of Study, specifically a lot of our CTE programs and our pathways, and aligning those dual credits so that we can also have students graduate with 1-year certificates, or at least on their way to finish programs through those, because the College Core is typically for bachelor's degree bound students, so we are looking to make sure that we're expanding into some of the technical areas as well.
This is probably the most amazing thing, and Travis Gabehart is who sent us this, because as we were talking back and forth with what the class of 2022 did, but this year's senior class, based on the number of college credits they earned and the cost of a college credit, saved $725,467 by opportunities that were given to them here at Jennings County High School. So spreading that out across the entire class, about $3,000 per student were saved in their college credits they earned right here at Jennings County High School.
Okay, so it says STEM Foundation, and really, we really are at the foundation level of STEM. We've been working every month with PD for our teachers to learn more and more about STEM. The good thing is that we have a lot of STEM going on in our building already. You know, with some of our programs, our CTE programming, this stuff's already happening. And what I've found is that the teachers are starting to learn that it's just good teaching. So project-based learning, problem-based learning, things of that nature, we have teachers already doing that in our building, and we're just starting to learn to document it a little bit, that we're doing some cool stuff, from Bill Lane, who's teaching or building model castles, and kids are making catapults and trying to see which castle's the strongest, to do we want to show some of these videos? These mousetrap race cars and robotics class, and we got all kinds of stuff going on. Most schools in our state will say they cannot become STEM certified in the high school level as a whole school, but program-wise, we can actually get STEM certified, and we're really going to try to work on that the next few years of getting these programs certified. It's a big job, it's a lot of work, a lot of documentation, but we can do it. The big thing that we're going to talk about later, we're starting to get the community involved in this. We have a lot of partners who are helping us. Black Hat Racing, some of the names you mentioned were people from our local community who are helping with these things, and it's a really bright, cool thing that's going on in our corporation. We have these people in our community who want to help our kids. So do we want to show maybe one of these?
Yeah.
Let's just do the mousetrap race cars. So this is Mrs. Relevant's class. Kids are putting together, they had a race. It's going to look not as cool with sound probably, but here they are just making them. That just took it out apart. What's cool is seeing the kids' pride in it. They're so excited to show you what they've done.
And that pride, there's one in here that after this video was put out on our Facebook page, they were very upset of the race I recorded because they felt like their car performed a lot better when we weren't there. So they came in my office to let me know you filmed the wrong race.
So just something to show that we have kids doing great things. Now, something else cool is going on is something pushed by the state is employability skills. And at the end of the semester, or end of the school year, we decided just to do a survey with our kids and see, you know, where do we stand with employability skills. Like we said, we're just in the foundation level of the STEM programming. And to be honest with you, we're really shocked that we feel really good about where our kids are with employability skills. They're learning about collaboration. They're learning about communication. They're learning about careers that they might want to go into within all of our classes. So that's a very positive note, even though we're not really even pushing it. It's already there. So we're just trying to see where we're at. We're in a good spot already, and we'll continue to push employability skills throughout the next few years.
Seth, go ahead and show the robotics class one. This group just totally has blown me away with what they have done this year. And what you're going to see throughout is a variety of projects. And these kids work on these projects for months on end. And we went up one day, they created a marble sorter, which I jokingly said when I walked in, like, is that, like, you can just sort them. But when you watch it, it was this entire machine that had a color scanner that they had programmed that based on what color it scanned the marble would shift it to a different bucket and drop it. And they had worked on that for a month and had finally gotten it, right there it is, working correctly. Here at the end, another student had actually built a bionic hand that was fully constructed and would move based on the coding that was put in. And again, these are kids right here in our high school that are working on these. And the coolest thing about this class is a lot of the projects they do, Mrs. Redelman is a resource, but she's never built a bionic hand. So it is a truly collaborative experience with those kids, working with her to try and figure it out. And when we talk about that STEM and that engineering mindset, they're experiencing it every day. Fail, retry, fail, retry.
Okay, so Joe had kind of mentioned the employability skills, and this year here and I were fortunate enough to work with our students who were working to obtain the work ethic certificate, which is part of the governor's work ethic certificate. And through this initiative, students are learning and being able to demonstrate these work ethic competencies. And so this year we had 17 of our seniors obtain this work ethic certificate. And when Joe and I were talking about, like, you know, what's our vision for this? What do we want for our kids? Our thought was, well, if they've got to be able to demonstrate these work ethic competencies and have employability skills, we've got to get them out in the community. We've got to pair them up with mentors and people in this community who can help them to see, how do I show persistence in the workforce? How do I show initiative in the different work ethic competencies that there are? Students who obtain the work ethic certificate also can receive incentives whenever they go to be employed, whether that's right after high school or after some sort of post-secondary schooling. So businesses in our community offer incentives, as do across the state. So if a student obtains this work ethic certificate, then when they go to become employed or go to interview for a job, there are different incentives that they can get, like tuition reimbursement, a raise after the first 60 days on the job, whatever it is. Having that certificate incentivizes that for them. So like I said, this year we had 17 seniors obtain the certificate. It is not required. This is something that students sign up for, and it was fairly rigorous this year. So we paired them with a community mentor, someone who's in business and industry here in North Vernon. They were required to meet with their mentor at least twice a month. That could be either on site, that could be through email, through Zoom meeting, text, phone calls, and we charted over 75 plus total hours of communication between January and May when those students met with their mentors. Students were also required to do a mock interview and receive feedback. When Joe and I talked with our kiddos, a lot of them didn't have jobs yet. They'd never been through an interview. In fact, the Lilly scholarship interview was probably the first interview that they'd ever had. And I think we can all probably say the first job interview we ever had was really, it was nerve-wracking and painful and all the things. So we wanted to prepare our kids and get them some really good feedback on what their interview skills were. Students were expected to discuss with their mentors as well as demonstrate those 5 work ethic competencies that were outlined in the program. And then we asked our mentors to write letters showing that our students were able to demonstrate those skills for them. And on the next slide, you'll see I just threw in some quotes that we'd gotten in some of those letters, and I think they're all pretty awesome. And we have great kids, and that's true, but sometimes great kids don't always possess all of the work and employability skills. And so through this program, you can see that they learned a lot of things. So these are just some of the, I'm not going to read them all to you, but these are some of the really awesome things that people said, mentors said about the kids that we had.
Something really neat about this is that when we met at the end of this and got feedback from our kids, one kid in particular said to me, well, I found out I don't want to do that career. How valuable is it to know that? Instead of going to college, wasting money and time, I want to do that, I went and saw it, and I don't want to do that. And that's very valuable. Now, also a cool thing was these kids also said, I have someone in the community now that I know if I want to go for a job, I can call them, they would be a reference for me.
And so obviously we want these kids to come back, right, and work in North Vernon. So even if they don't want to work at NVIC or they don't want to work at, Hilux or whatever, they at least know someone that might be able to put them in front of someone else. And we talked with our kids a lot about how networking was really the most important piece of all of this. So we had a celebration breakfast at the end with our mentors and our kiddos, and it was really awesome. We had a good time with it this year. So.
Then here on this next slide, talking about those workforce connections and how we're giving kids real world experiences. We were blessed, both North Vernon Fire Department came in, spoke with our kids, but the one that I'm probably most proud of is Force Construction came in and brought all of their union representatives as well. And it was kind of funny, Dale Warkey, who works for Force Construction, was teasing me back and forth before they came in because when they had gone to Brownstown had like 115 kids in the auditorium. So Dale was like, got to beat 115. Well, unfortunately, I didn't beat 115. We had 85 kids in the auditorium, but after he came back down, what he had realized is Brownstown sent their entire group of students, and there was a lot of kids who weren't interested. We asked for kids who were interested to go down there, and Dale was blown away because those 85 kids were going down and talking to those union reps and figuring out what was available for them post-graduation. So when he came back down, he said, you did lose, but we really won by coming here. So it's amazing to see that. And then Mr. Schultz is back here, so I'll shout him out as well. But his culinary arts class, and this is them at the Teacher of the Year banquet. They have catered several different programs this year. They do an amazing job. They are the utmost professionals, and just so much fun watching these kids not just gain skills, but gain confidence. Some of these kids are the ones that would have put their head down and cowered to talk to you that are now having a conversation as they're serving you a salad or serving you mashed potatoes. And that confidence is going on and on. Black Cat Racing, we've already honored, but I have to just say, as we kind of read through some of those names of coaches, the real world experience they're getting there, when you talk about Coach Alan Magner, not only works at Decatur Mold, has helped a lot of these kids from Black Cat get employment. Alan has been a racer for his entire life. Races every weekend, is a great resource for these kids to learn from in the racing world. Bob Watts, Watts Electric. The funniest story I can tell about Bob Watts is the gentleman from Purdue that runs this entire program came down to present our trophy to us 2 years ago. Bob caught him in the main office and for about an hour and a half explained to the guy why everything they were doing was wrong and why it would work better. Bob is now on the board for this and has shown them Bob was right. Bob is in our backyard and is helping our kids. And then when you talk about Davey Thomas, and Davey is the father of Jared Thomas Motorsports Engineering right here in town. These kids are getting real world opportunities. Two of the young men that you honored tonight are headed to IUPUI to major in mechanical and motorsports engineering and are working this summer at JTR Motorsports Engineering here in town. So these connections are really preparing our kids for the next opportunity. And then the last one here, and this is kind of exciting because we're finally getting to that timeline where we can see that, and I've included all this in the back of your packet as well. The last 3 semesters, we have taken a culture climate survey. We use the same questions each time we do so. We started it in the spring of 21, then again last fall, and then again this spring. And we're starting to see data trends. So that's the last thing in your packet where we started to put that data together to see where we're trending in those areas with our staff. So we're excited to be able to continue that and see where those data trends go going forward. What are our future plans and what are our goals? Number one, it was mentioned by Stephanie earlier, but MTSS lab and getting our MTSS positions in. We feel really, really good about what we were able to do with the SRT lab this year, but there is still so much of a need. And to be able to pair that and truly create that MTSS umbrella that will cover our credit recovery, our alternative ed, our interventions, and truly give us a true Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 system to identify struggling students and implement interventions is going to be amazing. So that's our big push this summer, is getting that in place, getting that program ready to run from day one. We've already met with the middle school, and I can't say enough about the middle school. They've given us a list of about 65 students who they've identified already that day one need supports. So lucky for those 65, day number one, they walk into Jennings County High School, they're going to have a support that's working with them from the first day that they come in. Attendance and graduation rate, we know that the only way to be successful is to be there. We also know that the only way to get to the graduation is to be on track. And we know with the GPS that's coming down the pike for our accountability, it's vital that we get kids on track right off. So freshman year is going to be something we really focus on to make sure these kids are on track going forward so that we don't lose them. We believe that when they see success will help that attendance rate and graduation rate. What we've seen, and we saw it in the impact, is when kids don't have that place or that person at school, that's when we start to lose them. You know, the two students I use as an example, once they found that person, and Kristen Campbell, who's unbelievable in what she does, they were there, and they don't miss. I mean, they do not miss school, because that's their person. So we want to give our kids that opportunity right off the bat to pair them with that person, to help some of those things in the future. And then again, continuing to build community partnerships. Across the board, you know, this is something that Nikki and I actually just talked about this morning, was not just our manufacturing and healthcare and education and all the opportunities that we have, but down to even our students who have to work to help support their families right now. A big push for me is I want to get with our employers that are employing teenagers to work with them and say, make an agreement with me that you're not going to start them working until 1 p.m. At least give us a chance to get them in for a half day on an alternative schedule and get them an education so they're not gone. And if we can truly partner with that across the board, I think it's going to give us a great chance for all these kids to stay on track and get across the stage for graduation. Any questions?
Is that Sun Valley Speedway in Anderson?
That is Anderson Speedway. You're exactly right, Earl. They were invited up there last Saturday.
That was the little 500?
That was,
Sprint car race.
yeah, it was a sprint race, yeah.
Next time, tell me. I'll go.
Absolutely.
Does anybody have any other questions?
Thank you.
So I'll just thank you all again for coming. It's a lot of information and a lot of data. So if anybody, a lot of background information as well. If anybody has questions, reach out. I'm sure that Dustin and your team will be happy to answer those questions. And I will, since we've already talked about Black Cat, I'll shout out just real quickly the culinary. I had the opportunity to be at the Teacher of the Year banquet, and the food was amazing. So thank you for that. That's what a great opportunity again. So moving on to new business, Neola.
We do. We have several policies for first reading, so that's just no vote this time.
Okay, and then programs, Nikki.
Asking for approval for the high school textbook adoption for next year focused on science courses. I'll read off the list. Integrated chemistry and physics, adopting active physical science. Biology and biology honors, adopting biology by Miller Levine. Chemistry 1, adopting basic chemistry. Zoology, integrated principles of zoology. Environmental science, adopting the science behind stories, environment. Earth and space science, the 15th edition of Earth Science. And then ACP biology, biology concepts and connections. Anatomy and physiology, human anatomy and physiology. Human genetics, concepts of genetics, and life science by Inspire Science. So asking for approval for those textbooks. And thank you to the high school for going through that whole process, offering community members to come in, and parents and see the books, and working with teachers.
Do I have a motion to accept the textbook adoption as it's been read? Motion by Travis. Do we have a second? Second. Second by Tony. Any discussion? All of those in favor, and we'll do a roll call. I'm not sure if Pat is still on the line, but we'll do a roll call. Tony?
Yes. I'm still here.
Okay. Pat? Pat?
Yes. Yes.
Travis?
Yes.
Amy? Yes. Earl?
Yes.
Susan? Yes. Okay. And then on to approval for JCHS reverse credit.
Asking for approval for the high school to be allowed to offer reverse credit to students. So students, this is something we've done in the past and bringing it back to help our kids get graduated and extra opportunities for courses. If they take a course offered through Ivy Tech, say in the summer, which Ivy Tech's offering free this summer, then they can get that credit put onto their high school transcript, so they get credit through the high school. So rather than us just offering it only from the front, we can also accept courses from Ivy Tech to give our kids more opportunities. So asking for approval for them to be able to implement that for next school year.
Okay, do I have a motion? Motion by Susan, do I have a second? Second by Earl.
second.
Any discussion? Okay, Susan, do you want to call the roll? Pat?
Yes,
Tony?
Yes.
Travis?
Yes.
Amy? Yes. Earl?
Yes.
Susan? Yes.
Renewal of a district license for CAMI.
I have renewal for 3 licenses that all come from CARES funds. Would it be okay if I take that as a group?
Absolutely.
So these are programs that we've already had and we use for our digital format. CAMI, Google Enterprise runs Google Classroom and our email system, and Seesaw our elementary kids use in the primary grades for when we do online work and within the classroom. All of them will be funded through our ESSER and CARES money. So asking for approval for renewal for them for the next school year.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion by Tony, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Travis. Any discussion? Susan, if you'll call the roll. Pat?
yes,
Tony?
Yes.
Travis?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Earl?
Yes.
Susan?
And then we'll go down under professional staff recommendations.
Yes, we have Hannah Clark for Graham Creek Elementary Behavioral Support Specialist. Gabrielle Ginda for NVE teacher. Kathy Heath, the Director of Nursing. Julie James, Brush Creek Elementary Summer School Tutoring. Cindy Law, Graham Creek Elementary Summer School Tutoring. Morgan Likens, Brush Creek Elementary Summer School Tutoring. Morgan Likens for Brush Creek Elementary Principal. Thomas Newton for the Jennings County High School Remediation Teaching Position and head football coach. Madeline Pace for NVE Special Education Teacher. Karen Pedigo for Jennings County Middle School Principal. And Emma Shockley for Scipio Special Education Teacher. Asking for approval.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept those as read? Motion by Travis, do we have a second? Susan, any discussion? Okay, Susan, if you'll call the roll. Pat?
yes,
Tony?
Yes.
Travis?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Earl?
Yes.
Myself? Yes.
I would add that Kathy Heath, our new Director of Nursing, and Karen Pedigo, our new middle school principal, are here. If you wanted them to come up and shake your hand.
Thank you so much.
You're in the spotlight already.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you. Thank you, Tony.
Congratulations.
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 Good luck. Appreciate that. Thank
Hi,
you.
kiddos, how are you?
Appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to support staff recommendations.
Recommending Darlene Castor for Jennings County High School cook. Desiree Cummings for summer tutoring she's the bus driver. She's taking kids to summer tutoring. Rebecca Griffin, head custodian at Hayden. Ashley Heindel will be a custodian at Hayden for the summer and a central office intern for the summer. Lynn Hulse will be a bus driver for the summer school tutoring. Stephanie Ketchum will be the middle school. She'll be moving from a paraprofessional to the secretary position at the middle school. Andrew McKean is the bus garage mechanic intern for the summer. Dottie Miller will be moving from the secretary position at the middle school to a paraprofessional position. Dina Monday will be driving a bus for summer school. Wayne Pyatt will be driving a bus for summer school. And Jennifer Wilson is going to be an elementary parapro at Scipio, asking for approval.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept those as read? Motion from Earl, do I have a second? Second from Tony, any discussion? Susan, if you'll call the roll.
Pat?
yes,
Tony?
Yes.
Travis?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Earl?
Yes.
Myself? Yes.
Okay. Updated classified pay scale.
Let me do that one. Okay. Yes,
like asking for approval for the pay scale update that as written. And it was just a lot of cosmetic things just to clean it up and get rid of some confusion from the prior years.
Do I have a motion to accept that as it was presented?
Make a motion.
Okay, a motion by Tony. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Travis. Any discussion? No. Susan, if you'll call the roll.
Pat,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
myself, yes.
Okay. Down under finances, looks like we have some donations.
Right, asking the board to accept donations from NVIC, $250 to Sand Creek. Also, donations were received for the art department in memory of JCHS graduate Stacia Schmidt. So Karen Chillman, Barbara Adams, Keith and Donna Kellums, Mr. and Mrs. Bill Amos, Mr. and Mrs. Steve Schmidt, Tracy and Lily Schnickelnecht, and Anonymous, Donald and Elizabeth Walker, Arnold and Jennifer Wetzel, and Megan and Alex Collison. Ask the board to accept those donations.
Do I have a motion to accept? Motion by Susan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Earl. Any discussion? No. Susan, if you'll call the roll, please.
Pat,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
yes.
And then down under relations, some policies. Todd?
Yeah, so our MOU with First Steps provides our support and services for our kiddos in Jennings County up until their 3rd birthday. And then we take over as Jennings County Schools to provide those supports. So asking permission to approve the MOU with First Steps.
So we'll just take that the first step. So do I have a motion? Motion by Tony. Do I have a second? Second by Susan. Any discussion? Susan, if you'll call the roll.
Pat,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
yes.
And then there's a second MOU?
Between Southeast Indiana Workforce, JAG, and Jennings County. So that's the usual agreement between JAGs and Jennings County. And so just asking the board to accept that MOU so we can continue that work.
Do I have a motion? Motion by Travis. Do I have a second? Yep. Second by Earl. Any discussion? Susan, if you'll call the roll.
Pat,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
yes.
And then we're down finally to other. Is there anything?
Nope, don't have anything.
Well, hearing nothing under other, I'll take a motion to adjourn this meeting. Motion by Travis. Do I have a second? Second by Susan. Any discussion? I hope not. If you'll call the roll, Susan.
Pat,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Travis, Amy,
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
yes.
Motion is approved.